I don't know if that picked up in the mic. I guess I could have waited another 30 seconds to avoid the little um, alert
Another 30
thing.
seconds.
Whoops. And there we go. So it's Tuesday. We are working on the Noah's Archipelago calendar today. And last time we did May, but I thought, you know what? We should probably start from the beginning and start with January. So that's what we're going to do. And I already went ahead before the stream just because it takes forever. I did the lettering. So now we're going to start with the outline and then color in afterwards. Now, last week I thought I was going to get two of these done, and only one of them actually got done. So I'm kind of assuming that, but if this does go surprisingly fast, well, then we will start on the July one. So let me see here. What I'm using for outlining is the Staedtler pigment liners, and I've got a few different sizes. Um, and then a variety of markers for color. I think generally speaking, I'm using a lot of alcohol markers these days. But, there's certain colors like Ruth and Ursula's hair where I'm still using an old school marker instead. Actually, some old crappy ones I got from Michael's, but they actually turned out to not be that crappy. So as long as they haven't run out of ink, we're golden, right? So on yesterday's stream, somebody was asking how come I don't have, like the donation stuff up. I haven't set that up. But, down the road, probably in a month or so, I'll get around to that. And then I guess I would just have the link pinned in the chat or whatever. But definitely appreciate the compliment that someone's basically telling me I should be getting paid for this stuff. But anyways, that's for the future. And let's see how this goes. I will, after the outlines, I like doing some of the fatter outline in certain areas, but I'm going to do the main outlines first. And actually, why don't I start sort of back? Well, my brain wants to go back to front, but actually, I should probably go front to back, um, just in terms of what's going to overlap or not. So, yeah. Now I've got like several of these that are identical, and that one is one that is running out of ink. So I should probably stop putting it back into my pen cup, eh? These characters are from my webcomic Noah's Archipelago, and they've been showing up on my streams for the last few weeks. Although, of course, most of my stuff has been Miles and Ricky, the rat dudes, but you know, that's kind of how it goes. So Noah's the dad, Ursula's the daughter, Ruth is the wife, and get kind of the attitude here of all three of them. Ursula having been sent out to get fresh air, and she thinks fresh air is quite overrated. And I can't really argue that in the winter, but move that up a little bit so it's a little more centered. Now, when I first started drawing Noah in, this is 2022 or so, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the cartoony thing, only 3 fingers. And every so often I kind of go, maybe I should have given them 4, but At this point, we're staying with the 3. It's a little more cartoony, I guess. Plus, at this scale, trying to fit in that 4th finger, sometimes it'd be a pain in the butt. Because I do that on, Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat and Miles and whatnot. But before I go further, I should grab a little piece of paper so that I'm not, smearing when I'm going over certain areas. These characters all this comic is set in Victoria, BC, so there being enough snow for Ursula to make a snowman that big, this is a work of fiction. Although, I guess it happens maybe once every 15 years or so, but yeah, we did, I don't know if we got snow this I don't think they did this winter. Last winter, there was some, but, the snowmen were all much smaller. Oh, I'm gonna let it be over. Let it be over. Why am I reading that funny? Hello, let it be over. How's it going? Of course, I'm looking and going like, that must be French because it starts with L, and I'm like, oh. My name is Rain. Hi, Rain. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Welcome to the show. This kind of like hand thumb down posture that Ruth's got. It's like, I know I do that all the time, but it sure looks weird when I try and draw it, but oh well. So, oh, awesome. Thanks. Glad to hear it. How am I? I'm doing pretty good. Pretty low key sort of day. A lot of little errands that I had to run. And then spent some time making gigantic tissue paper flowers because I'm on the hospitality committee at my church and we're having a spring potluck. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, yeah, I'll make tissue paper flowers for the photo booth. And then it's the day of. I'm like, why did I agree to this? I mean, it was fun. I was just like, takes longer than one expects, but should be pretty. But that was kind of my main activity of the afternoon, other than, like I said, boring errands. Now I'm gonna switch from a 1.2 millimeter to a bit of a thinner. That sound cool. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Hello, arts and crafts. Yeah, it's fun. I bookmarked it somewhere, but the tutorial they actually make uh them look where, you kinda have this, like, pom-pom kind of center, and then you cut out templates, so you get this they almost look like, poppies or something kinda look, so it's gonna be really pretty, and they're like well, if I put my hands out the side, it would vanish off the camera, but yeah, it's gonna be nice. And hopefully, we can manage to not destroy them, because then we can reuse them for next year's potluck, so I don't have to make them again. Well, I guess it depends what the color theme's gonna be for next year's spring potluck. I might have to do them again. This, I'm thinking the horns were probably carrots. Beside that, once we get into the markers, but that kind of seems like a good option for making horns. And our old man would be going, "Why do you need 3 noses for your snowman?" Or 3 noses for your snowman, very creative, and it's like, "Yeah, yeah, only one of them is the nose." Make the snowball a little lumpy. I gotta go by. Hey, no problem. Thanks for, subbing, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you again real soon. Take care. So switching to this, thinner marker does kind of help, push that back. Um, I will make Ursula's lines a little thicker, but I'll use this marker, whereas on this part, I'll use the really fat marker type of thing. So then you kinda have well, fractal's probably not really the right term for it, but you have that gradation. I think one of the, readers on the well, I have a Facebook page for Noah's Archipelago, and the website actually is a little behind in updating. When I say a little, I mean a lot. I gotta fix that this month, get it up to date, but it's up to date on Facebook and on the Instagram, but anyways, one of the followers of it on Facebook once asked, "Why is Ursula always so angry?" It's like, I don't know. She's a kid, she just wants to sit on her ass, watch cartoons all day, not do math, and the adults keep bugging her to do stuff like clean her room and eat her vegetables, and, these things annoy her. Has to make her own snowman instead of just give directions to her dad and, supervise. Like, I've had a few comics where Ursula's really into Lego, but she likes supervising, so she wants to collect the sets, and then she wants her dad to build them, and she just wants to watch. The little bumps on Lego are really tough on your fingers, so some would call that laziness. Ursula would call it, you know, thinking smart. Mm, yeah. Evergreens are getting splayed out thanks to the weight of the snow. Usually winters usually snow on the West Coast is that heavy, really wet, nasty stuff, and not the nice light powder, but if you get enough of even, like, the nice light powder, it'll still do that. A family member who lives in Calgary now but grew up in Vancouver, and one of the things he likes is that Calgary's a lot drier, but he kinda commented, "By the time you get to this time of the year, when it snows, it's the same wet, heavy snow that we used to get in Vancouver, and it's nowhere near as much fun." Mind you, it's also not -30 when you're having to shovel it, but it's a lot harder on the back, I guess. And I think they are in for a dose of the heavy, wet snow. I don't know if it's starting tomorrow, but starting on Thursday, I think. So he's not thrilled. Yeah, let's fatten things up a little. I don't wanna fatten up all the lines, but just here and there, you know. And it does give a little bit of a 3D effect even before we go in with color, little shadow, etc. Excuse me. I think what I'm gonna do with the mouth is try and make it and it's small that it might be difficult to get it to go, but the idea is that she's carved out the slot, so it's kind of like that blue shadow that snow gets, rather than making the mouth out of, bits of coal or whatever. Rocks, I guess, would probably be the more likely scenario here. I think at the very end, I may go in with a super fine marker and just kind of do some of, like that kind of thing, just to, I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious that that's a window there, but sometimes I find giving that little diagonal line kind of helps it. But we'll see once everything's colored. Oh, and yes, the other thing I forgot, Noah tends to, well, not tends to, he has a fairly hairy chest. He tends to show it off, so gotta do that. Now, coloring. Let's start with this guy. It's a little too bright. Move that out of the way. Got a paper. There's my mess of markers. Got a piece of thicker Bristol board. Or that actually might be watercolor paper, but cheap watercolor paper. But I'm gonna use this to test out colors on. There we go. That's kind of more. So let's start working from the top down. Getting a little of sky color going. I'm fairly new to the alcohol markers, and I've definitely noticed they like to bleed. So, gonna kind of stay away from the line itself initially, and can always come back afterwards to get a little closer. But especially with a snowscape where I want a lot of things to kind of stay white. And obviously, we've got some non-photo blue, which because this is color, it will be photo. Um, the pencil I tend to do my under drawing in. Some of that's still going to show like there, but if all else fails, we can fix that in Photoshop later. Wow. Sorry about coughing. My throat apparently has no sense of on stream decorum. So I think I got the worst of the cough over. So let's carry on and start putting in, well, I guess we'll color in um, those trees first. Not sure why this is labeled as pastel violet because it's pretty clearly pink, but whatever. Might be a bit much on that blue on the shadows, but I mean, shadows and snow very often do have a bluish tint, so. And most of these do dry a fair bit lighter, so. Usually I have Ruth in kind of like a grayed out, either like a slate blue or a kind of grayed purple or similar kind of desaturated tone dress. So I kind of want something in between, but I'm having a hard time finding the right one. Really end up with a few different tones in it. Because that current dress color is definitely not correct. We may we may just kind of go with this blue gray, even though it's not quite the shade I want. But that is definitely more Ruth colored for how I usually draw her in the webcomic. Trying to remember the last time I showed their curtains what color they were. I think we're probably gonna go for like a grayish kind of color. Eh, I think that's a slightly darker green than I usually. Um, I used to do this comic in Procreate. It's a little darker than I usually would color the living room walls, but it works. So It's kind of hunter green with burgundy is a very 90s color combination. 90s, early 2000s, I guess. You can tell that Ursula kind of gets her color preferences from the old man. All right, I think we are on to flesh tones. Stick a bunch of markers back in the bin that I've got off to the side here. These are the ones I'm using for skin colors. In case anyone's wondering about others, I got a few different brands here. Mostly that I have gotten at here in Canada, it's called Home Sense. Well, then there is some from Michaels. But in the States, I guess it's called Home Goods, TJ Maxx. So kind of stock their art section. But flesh tone wise, I kind of found these Ohuhu ones being the best. But yeah, at least for my characters. Quite the windstorm going on outside here tonight. I don't think it's gonna pick up in my lav mic, but you know, hopefully we don't get power outages, but I don't think it's quite that bad. Usually if it's bad enough that we get power outages, that would be from down trees, and then you usually really hear it howling before that point. So anyways, no, this one didn't take as long as I expected. Last week's took 2 hours for the one drawing, but this week, so far we're here. Now, I will point, so I do have a second one I'm gonna start in a second. I will point out here with the non-photo blue, normally if I'm if I'm doing that and I'm scanning in black and white, um, that gets knocked out. Now, of course, this is color, so that's not gonna be a thing. Small areas like that I can Photoshop out, or I'm just gonna leave it as a stylistic thing. In the text, though, some of it didn't line up because my spacing was off when I did it. What I'll probably end up doing would be to scan this twice, once in color, once in black and white, and then in Photoshop and just delete this out of the color one and put the black and white where the non-photo blue goes bye-bye, you know. But that's a problem for future Pura. It's the old Simpsons joke where Homer's talking about future Homer. He's like, that's a problem for future Homer. I'm glad I'm not that guy. But anyways, so that is going to be the January drawing. Now we're going to move on to July. So, of course, Noah loves him some holidays and whatnot. And let's move that over there. So, July, we've got, of course, Canada Day, and then we've got the US holiday. Noah loves all holidays. So he's come up with this costume that is it's a beaver, but it's got an Uncle Sam hat and he's got both flags. The wife is not impressed. You are not wearing that to Costco. So now let's see how long this one takes. I obviously do have a little bit of lettering to do, but not as much as the previous one. Let's give some emphasis on not. I mean, I know in terms of the lettering and whatnot, what a lot of people will do is completely letter it digitally. So, you know, you would just know that there is going to be a speech bubble, but not specific, but you would do the art as if it wasn't going to be there. I've always tended to just do my speech bubbles in at the same time. So we are going to do that again here. This one, there's only a little bit um, where the non-photo blue is going to be kind of a problem. But at a certain point, like now that I've been doing the comics as I'll fix that in Photoshop. Anyways, I switched from working digitally on Noah to doing basically exactly what you see me doing with markers and whatnot. Um, a couple weeks ago or whatnot, just because I found doing it on the iPad, the ergonomics were really starting to mess with my neck and back. So moving it this way, then it's faster. Kind of do like the imperfections of it and whatnot. So I don't worry about this sort of stuff, right? Now, it may be that down the road, um, when I want to do a collection of these comics once they've gone more more analog, that they kind of look messier if I wanted to do them in print. But honestly, right now, I am almost done the first Noah Treasury, which would be, I think it runs from July of 2022 till March of 2023 in comics. It's like the first 175 comics or thereabout. Um, so those, of course, were all digital. And then we're going to have um, 3 or 4 other, I keep wanting to call them anthologies. That's not the correct word, treasuries of the Noah digital comics before we get to dealing with the point where I had switched over to doing it analog. So, and honestly, by the time we get to that, maybe I won't do treasuries of those comics because I'm kind of thinking of migrating Noah into a graphic novel kind of comic down the road. But, anyways, again, that's one of those problem for future Pura type of scenarios. Uh, so, yeah. Feel like a smudge on his face, so I'm just gonna do that, even though I know that kind of doesn't make for the best YouTube. So after this stream tonight, we will have 3 completed months. I had also done March off stream as like a test of, my process here, but then I kinda screwed up Noah's face in that, so we will end up redrawing March, and, yeah, so we are making progress. Don't know that we would get through 2 of them every week, but I think this calendar is still gonna be finished in a reasonable amount of time. And we will be starting on some other Noah-related things. Well, probably just focusing on, coloring books, like, on the Thursday stream, but and then the Tuesday stream, let's see if I can get a Ricky one done. I feel like that's too many stripes, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait a minute, aren't there like 13 stripes? I don't know. I'm Canadian. We did not learn about these important details, so I'm just gonna leave that fully blue and not try and do 50 tiny stars. Um, my story is gonna be that Noah ordered his flags on Temu or on Wish. I'm also gonna butcher the Canadian flag when we get over here, so not casting shade on our southern neighbors. I just really should have counted the number of stripes before drawing them on here. That is also completely incorrect. So, Noah is consistent between the 2 countries. He is screwing up both flags. One of these future years, this is 2027 is actually the first year I'm doing a Noah calendar or any calendar. It's something I've wanted to do for a while and just haven't gotten organized for it. But I was thinking that would be interesting one year um, to just pick a random fake holiday each month. So, in December, it wouldn't be Christmas. It would be, okay, I'm drawing a blank now. But for example, obviously yesterday was the whole 420 thing. Um, but like a week ago, Monday was National Scrabble Day. So those sorts of fake holidays, and just pick one per month, and that would become the illustration. So who knows? Maybe that'll be what we do in 2028. I don't know. Yeah, the whole for better or for worse thing. For Ruth, these kind of costumes definitely go under the for worse category. But, she knew that when she married him, so she really can't bitch too much. Although I do remember hearing the saying at some point, men marry women hoping or thinking that the women will never change, and then they're disappointed and shocked when the women do change. And women marry men thinking the man will change, and then are disappointed and shocked when the man doesn't change. So perhaps she thought he would grow out of it. Although Noah's 47, I think, is the age he's supposed to be. And they've been married 10 years. So, if he hadn't outgrown it by his mid 30s when they started dating, she should have known that he was not going to be outgrowing it. This angle for feet is like super awkward. And I actually did use reference images, and it's like, okay, he's just gonna look weird. Just kind of put in a horizon line over there. So this one's coming together pretty quick as well. Now, because we don't have a definite background, this is when we get to do fun things with the background. Um, One of the things I often used to do when I was doing it digitally would be to do various patterns and whatnot as and colors as kind of, showing annoyance. Um, Actually, that's the wrong end. Like, well, have these kind of like dot patterns, and then the color would kind of be the emotional kind of whatever. Very technical term. I hadn't initially when I first started doing the as markers. I wasn't doing this initially, but I started doing it again just in the last week. These kind of pinky tones for happy. Of course, when you're doing that digitally, you can get overlays and change your um, blending method and all that sort of stuff and get a lot more variation in it. But, I still do a little bit of that with markers. The effect then is we get this kind of really cheerful background, and then the more annoyed section down here, which we'll do after. Oh yeah, leg hair. I forgot to draw Noah's leg hair. I also forgot to thicken up the lines. So why don't we do that before we get any further with the color. Give him bony knees on both legs, right? So there we go. I'll probably end up having to redraw and Photoshop the feet, but we'll worry about that later. Probably didn't quite choose the right ground cover here, color here, but yeah, it might be something I can fix later. For right now, we're just gonna go with it. Yeah. Hello, he's any draws. Yeah, I think you're right. A teal blue or a different yellow. But hey, the good thing is what I can always do is trace this area on a light onto another piece of Bristol board using my light box, and then just kind of color in the background, scan them both, and then you know put them together in Photoshop, which is what I'm almost certainly going to do. In which case, what I'd probably do first is take a photo of it. Um, and then I can kind of muck around in Procreate, and then choose colors based on that. Um, but it's kind of the fun thing with doing things on markers, right? Kind of going like, well, sometimes it works and sometimes yeah, I gotta do some redos, right? But yeah, I think the teal really would definitely make it pop too, because I mean, obviously this is kind of a brown's kind of a shade of orange, really dark orange, right? This is also a reddish, whereas the teal is opposite because it's blue and green, right? So that's that's kind of the fun thing too with because I do some digital stuff as well that I always have that option where I can Frankenstein things. Um, so not exactly a big deal. I mean, if I was really really not happy with how it turned out, well then, we would just redo this in a later live stream, but I think it's just the background, so easy enough to fix in Frankenstein. Right, now to go find the right kind of reddish orange for streaks in her hair. Procreate version of these streaks is always like bright orange, but it's a little more subtle when I do it this way. Nice. Yeah, I actually do have a few, a whole bunch of them. It's funny. Ages ago, well, I mean, like in high school and whatnot, I did tons of stuff with colored pencils, and then I kind of hadn't used them at all in ages and just got this set not that long ago. Um, so kind of like I don't want to say relearning how to use pencil crayons, but getting used to the combination again. So younger than 17 and older than 15. So you're 16. Where are you from? I have a new idea. Uh, Start with the guessing with North America, and I guess try and get uh, closer after that. Actually, throw a little of that same color in on this one. From Pakistan. Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely international. Yeah, it's always interesting to look at the stats after the fact and sort of see how far uh, people have watched from. It's kind of one of the amazing things about the modern era is it used to be in order to have international reach, it meant that you were, you know, might have had a best-selling book, or franchise or something like that where you had a PR campaigns and, press coverage and all that. Otherwise, nobody would, know where you're from outside of your hometown. Or, you know, even in the '90s, it was, international reach was kind of for superstars and whatnot. And now it's kinda like, well, whoever YouTube decided might be interested to see it worldwide. 25 in the morning, you gotta go to school, wow. Oh, see here, it's, well, I guess you're exactly 12 hours ahead because it's, 8:25 at night now, here on the west coast of Canada. So, kind of amazing how far, we can run into other people now. They didn't teach you how to speak English, they just make you learn everything. Yeah, well, exactly, I think that I mean, it's one of the better things with the internet is that probably are just about anything, including language and whatnot. There's loads of tutorials and stuff so that you can kind of educate yourself. Um, so although obviously there's certain languages that are harder to learn that way, but English, you know, one of I guess the side benefits of um, kind of the North American European domination of Western culture is that there's so much out there. I have definitely heard of, say, people who moved to the States and the entire way that they learned to speak English was just watching TV once they got there. And now people have the option of learning before you even leave. Yeah. English, I mean, some of the spelling rules and stuff are weird just because there's like 4 or 5 languages that became evolved into English. But sound-wise, I think it's probably pretty, you know, pretty easy. Um, Although I'd be the worst person to rate English or any other language in terms of ease of learning it because I have really not learned any languages other than English. Few words here and there, but no. I think that belongs somewhere else. Um, but yeah, like I've known people who were learning, say, Korean from watching Korean TV, and stuff like that on the internet. So you definitely didn't used to have that kind of resource. So on your schedule, people are putting on your schedule. Like, it's it's a little too late. Probably need to get a slightly different set that has a few more variations. I think this is the only real red in that pencil crayon set, but oh well. Uh, let's work on some crayons. Grays. To a kid, he was like, "Oh, you granny." I was like, "Oh, you're 8." Well, you know, I'm Gen X, so I you hear every 5 to 10 years about how whichever generation is the new one and everybody's doomed. Um, so hopefully that doesn't end up being the case, but, I do think, Generation Alpha and whatnot have certainly had things tougher than my generation had it for sure. Um, I mean, in some ways, like resources like the internet and whatnot are, we didn't get to grow up with that, but then we also, you know, we used to do stuff like get on our bikes and just disappear all Saturday, not come back until supper time, and that was totally fine. Um, so, you know, but I mean, there's kind of the joke, I think it's kind of a meme now on the internet, but somebody went and they found in one of some old, like, Roman tablet or something, the guy was complaining about that, kids don't listen to their parents, they just want to, you know, whatever, read scrolls or something like that, go to the, gladiatorial games, etcetera, and, kinda go, "Oh, okay, I think this is just like a doom thing that everybody's been saying for centuries." Um, but I think things go in cycles where things get better for a while, and then they get crappier for a while, and then they hit bottom, and they get better for a while, and so on, so, um, sometimes we'll probably replace those rocks and the generation doesn't get to. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, from a economic perspective, stuff like that, but even just in terms of behavior patterns, like, I at least in North America, you kind of see that some of the younger kids, Zoomers and Generation Alpha um, have had enough of some of the crap that, um, Gen X and millennials spewed and whatnot, so and are pushing back against it, so, yeah, I think every generation kinda starts trying to make their own way and realize realizes the folly of the previous generation and then sort of sets the pendulum too far in correction, and then this is vice versa. So nobody has the balance. It's all, too far one direction, too far the other, etc. Next time I'm at Michael's, I'm gonna have to look for a set that has better browns and reds. These pencil crayons are great for some lighter colors, but not so much in this case. This is pretty tone on time. Have you seen the video where they show the guy? I've seen many videos about guys talking to Chat GPT, and there was something that was, I don't know if it was published or it just kind of got publicity not that long ago, but they did studies and found that all the AIs are basically programmed to lie to you and agree with you. Um, and even if you program them to not lie, they'll like selectively pick data and stuff like that. So they can actually basically induce psychosis in people that use them too much. So yeah, I mean, put it to you again, it's not that new because, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were making fun of, like, news stories about, woman marries a tree, stuff like that, so 120. Like 25 is well, there's, what's his name? I think his channel's called Sam Does Art, and he's, like, 28, and his followers called him Unk. Call him Unk, and then it just became a running joke, like an inside joke. Do I have the pencil crayon I want? No, I don't. A few finer lines, but I'd like some darker ones as well. I guess probably because this set is like the black edition, so I guess they're assuming you need lighter colors because your paper is dark. So to get a regular non-black edition. This woman marries AI character made by Chat GPT. Well, isn't there was some news story I saw being spoofed on some comedy show not that long ago about like a restaurant that was doing, I don't know if it was like a promotion, might have been around Valentine's Day, but like where you could bring your laptop so you could have a date with your AI girlfriend or boyfriend. Like, wow, and we thought talking on your phone was obnoxious in restaurants, and now it's so much worse. At least if you're just talking loudly on your phone, there was an actual person you were talking to. A little bit. Just shocked. Yeah, and some of it you kinda go like, I'm just naturally suspicious, but part of me is like, how much of those stories is like that actually happened and how much of it is like weird PR stunts or, trolls making fake stories because they know the idiots in the press will fall for them and whatnot. So they're normal, yeah, definitely normalizing it. Um, I think human mental health um works best in relationship, like having friends and stuff like that. So you kind of look and go, okay, if the promotion is stay at home and talk to what amounts to your imaginary friend, that is the part of the population that's going to fall for that is not it's not going to end well for them, right? And other people are just like, yeah, but we can make profit off of it. And it's like, well, uh, this is the one I did last week, so I'm going to add some pencil crayon details into here as well. Thank you. Yeah. It's gonna be, because all of these are for a calendar project that I'm doing with this, set of characters. So this one will be for May. This one will be July, 4th of July in Canada Day. This one's gonna be January. So now about a quarter of the way through this calendar. I've got another one that I drew, but I kinda messed up his jawline, so I'm gonna redo it. I don't know if it'd be next week, but in an upcoming stream. So thank you. S- mm, This is kind of, well, you can see the pencil crayon colors I've got for this black set. So they're going to work a lot better on this one because everything's light. So Botanic College, that's awesome. Sure, send me a link. I'm streaming on my phone, so I can't look at it right. this minute, but I will definitely check some stuff out. You going to be studying art in college, or is it kind of going to be more of a hobby? Tag you on my YouTube channel. Sure. Yeah, and then I can have a look at it after. Take it seriously as death. Nice. Yeah. One thing I would recommend, and I say this because I did not do this, and then I'm having to learn it after the fact, is if you can do something like take a minor in business, um, like everybody, I know this standard thing is like, oh, you're an artist. Well, you should get a business degree, and then when you retire, you can paint. No, no, no. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that generally speaking, um, the best way to earn a living as an artist often is through entrepreneurial stuff. So if you can learn that off the bat, you'll be, light years ahead of the competition. And then you also, if you're like, say you end up coming up with an IP and you want to license that for greeting cards or merch or whatever, like then you're going to have the skills to understand the contract and not get screwed. So definitely something like a minor in business or entrepreneurialism, highly, highly recommended. Um, it's one of the things I see all the time is grown ass adults who want to become full time painters. They don't have a head for the business. They'll spend, 40, 50 hours on a painting and then they want to um, price it at like where the hourly rate would be half of minimum wage, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, all of that stuff can be avoided if you kind of develop a head for entrepreneur. I can't even say the word, but you know what I mean. And sort of figure out like, okay, how am I going to market my art? How am I going to, you know, do products with it if you're going that direction, or if you're doing content creation about your art, well, that's also still a business, right? So, and I don't know over there, but here the art schools, if they have anything about business and art entrepreneurialism, it'll be like an elective class called professional practice in your fourth year. And most of it's going to be about how do you approach a gallery so that they take care of it for you. Um, so yeah, a whole little homily there, but I definitely, I'm just now kind of developing business stuff related to my art and um, trying to monetize things and whatnot. And I definitely wish if I knew when I was your age what I know now, you know, I would have been so much better off. That's funny, like the, the art world, everybody wants to get paid and whatnot, but there's kind of almost like a taboo about, like one channel, and I like their stuff, don't get me wrong, but contemporary art issue. Um, they'll have things where they're kind of crapping on artists marketing their art, or doing merch and all that, but yeah, doing it for fun. Okay, fair enough. So the whole homily may have not been needed, but if you ever did decide you wanted to not do it for fun and do it as a business or a side hustle or whatnot, like I said, um, business classes and approaching it that way makes the process so much easier. I mean, oh, YouTube. Seeing, let me just open uh, to mention you in a post. Okay, just have to open that in a different window. Oh, cool. So a little bit anime style, right? Really bright colors. I love it. Admittedly, not the genre of art that I know a lot about, but it's really cool. So I gotta find where did that window just disappear? I have like 15 windows open right now. So there, okay, post. Here we go. Yeah, like you've got a really great color sense for sure. Good line work and whatnot. So yeah, just keep hammering away. Is this an original character? Yeah, that's anime. Oh, art definitely didn't take 4 hours. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, something that size and depending on the detail, yeah, it can definitely take. It's one of those things where depending on how on your um speed and whatnot, it can either take 45 minutes or 17 hours. Right? So actually, the pencil crayons kind of fix one issue I had with this last week was all the gray markers that I used today. I didn't have them in my bin. So then this pathway didn't really end up looking too much like gravel, so we can fix that now. I'm just gonna try and go pretty quick because, well, it's been streaming for 2.5 hours, but so that's looking a lot more gravel-y. While still letting the colors underneath show through. We're definitely getting this looking a lot more gravelly. Try and go quickly to fill in these last couple areas. That is definitely a lot better. I'm gonna take darker gray and try and add some just some sort of divots here and there. Oh, my garden paths, I do have some gravel and parts of them, and you always have these little like scoops from where you're walking. That would be in shadows, so Funny, it's a lot easier to see those when I look at, my laptop, you know, to see what it looks like in the camera. Don't know if those notifications pick up in the mic, but go, and we'll add a few over this side. All right. Well, we've been at it for 2.5 hours, so I think we are gonna call it for the night. But let's have another look at what we did. So, as I said, these are going to be pages in the 2027 Noah's Archipelago calendar. So, the January, Ursula outside making snowman, snow dance teacher, as it turns out. Um, Her mom, Ruth, looking outside, not sure who that's supposed to be. Noah, very kind of being like, well, if it's got devil horns in it too, it's her dance teacher. Devil horns in a math book, her school teacher. Devil horns in a plate of salad, either you or me, depending on nose size and hairstyle. And he's kind of not bothered by this at all. It's kind of ho hum. That's what Ursula does. Um, and then for July, got this. I do think Zany Draws is quite correct that, a teal or something in the ground. I don't want to overdo where I have these sort of like anger bubbles, the red here with Ruth, but the areas I did here, I think I probably what I'll end up doing is tracing the background or tracing this in on my light box onto another sheet of Bristol board, and then I can redo the background in that color, scan them both, and Frankenstein them together in Photoshop. Think also the pencil crayons I'm just using, these are, the black edition Faber-Castell. And they are kind of definitely lighter colors, which generally works great, but I don't have any like medium browns really to do that. The lighter kind of does help with the faux fur look of the beaver costume, but anyways, I'll be on the lookout for a different pencil crayon set that's got some darker colors to combine with this. Um, but yeah, so we've got Noah wearing his beaver costume and his Uncle Sam hat. Um, I guess this would probably be July 2nd or July 3rd, in between Canada Day and Independence Day. And Ruth is very determined that he is not going to be wearing that to Costco. And he probably won't when he goes with her. He'll just go on his own later. And then since we were doing some pencil crayon detailing, I brought out this and I kind of corrected last week where the gravel pathway was way too light and pastelly. So we added some grays and now it actually looks like gravel. So not bad for an evening's work. And like I said, since I'm showing that was done before, I think I showed this one last week. Um, this is the March one. I am going to redo it because I'm not happy with how Noah's jaw and the head looks weird and all that. So, but the idea is next year in 2027, Easter is in March. So Noah's wearing his Easter bunny costume underneath parts of his um, leprechaun costume. So we will end up redrawing this one. And I mean, I like the layout and whatnot. So other than here in his face, um, again, that's something I would do. Trace on a light box, get the his jawline correct, and then um, put the blue underdrawing onto a new. And I also be kind of, this is where I was like, oh yeah, the blue is going to show in some spots. I don't mind it so much, like, even in his face and whatnot, because that's kind of part of the style of how I do Noah's Archipelago now, with markers. This one was kind of a mistake. I think it was supposed to be another curtain coming in, but again, we can Photoshop that. Um, but yeah, this one will end up being redrawn, but that will be the same costume, um, concept. It'll just be slightly different execution when we redo it. So basically, that means we are 25% done for this calendar project. Because it'll be the 12 plus then the cover art. And the cover art, I think, is just going to be Noah and his family. Um, so, anyways, it's chugging along. We'll kind of see each week whether I manage to get multiples done each week. Like the garden one from last time, that was the entire stream, and then, half an hour on tonight's stream to finish it with the pencil crayons. But then these ones were about an hour each. So, we will next week. I don't know which months. I guess I'll probably do February next week, and the March one probably will take an entire episode. But I'll have a couple lined up next week, and then we'll see how it progresses. So, anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the stream tonight, and keep tuning in for more streams. Now, tomorrow night we are inking Zommel the Destroyer. And Thursday we are working on Noah, a couple pages out of the Noah's Archipelago coloring book that I'm working on. There isn't going to be a stream on Friday night because I have an event I have to go to. So, I will be there, not here. And then, of course, Monday for a couple more pages from Miles Morrow's Pursuit of Happiness. And next Tuesday, we will be back with this calendar project. So that's kind of what's on the docket coming up. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now, and bye bye to the Thorsons for now until Thursday.